A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome once again to films I'm willing to talk about again. So today it is Tuesday rather than Monday. And the thing is, as you probably remember, on Sunday I talked a bit about a new film known as Fly Me to the Moon. Well, it turns out another blockbuster is set to be released later this week. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cover another series. But unlike with most variations of recording styles and upload schedules, I'm actually going to marathon through a series of 4 films that are dedicated to the one and only lovable gang of 5 known as the Mystery Gang, with their star leader being Scooby-Doo. Yeah, that's right. This is basically a series of direct-to-video films, basically. These direct-to-video films, of course, not only starred Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Gang in all their glory, but they were, in fact, the first major hits of Scooby-Doo that came around during my lifetime. They were around when I was born, they were around during my first few years of life, and they sure as heck have lived on even after 25 long years since their release. And they had come around every year. Between 1998 and 2001, 4 films that were made possible by the likes of director Jim Sternstrom, as well as writers Davis Doy, William Hanna, and Glenn Leopold. Of course, we're going to start off with the first one in this case. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, released in late 1998, was the first of 4 that came around and managed to earn up a lot of money. Arguably speaking, this also was technically responsible in ushering in a brand new generation of Scooby-Doo fans and allowing an entire new community around Scooby-Doo to be created. It's safe to say that, as I remember, these 4 films were technically made as direct responsibilities for creating a new generation of Scooby-Doo related media. After all, there's plenty of other series that have showed up, lots of new movies, including a live action series of films. But all that stuff is basically the culmination of entirely different topics that I have yet to truly lay down for my schedule. Until then, we'll just stick to these 4 animated films. Anyways, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island revolves around Scooby-Doo, his best friend Shaggy Rogers, as well as the rest of the Mystery Gang, Fred Jones, Velma Dinkley, and Daphne Blake, all coming together after about a year since their last major case. Of course, if there was one common running theme, is that they wanted to create their own series of documentaries in relation to the unmasking of various criminal masterminds. But, as we get to see in a montage that unfolds, well, it's a series of fakeries. Daphne becomes convinced, as well as the rest, that they need to find an actual, real haunting. A real ghost of some sort. A real phenomenon that is occurring out there. Eventually they get the word that there is something going on at a certain location. This location, of course, is basically the residence of one Simone, as well as various other people that are living in that area. Of course, the Mystery Gang goes so far to venture off to this place and find out what is going on. They greet each other in appropriate ways, at least. And they also get to know of a certain gardener whom is not very well minded, considering how hard he has to work to make their property look nice. And they also get a surprise from a number of different things that take place. You see, this is actually what they were looking for. The Mystery Gang was hoping to cover something very exciting and spectacular. And, well, as various events come around, the suspense builds, and it all boils down to one peculiar night where Fred picks up his camera and starts recording the action. The winds howl, noises are heard, as the mystery gang are surprised to see a real life ghost. Or maybe more specifically, zombies. Yes. These are in fact the undead that, unlike with the older versions of Scooby-Doo that we've come to know about over the years, they've actually been made out to be even more on the creepy and terrifying side. And believe it or not, this actually got a number of different controversies from the likes of the MPAA as well as various fans. Some people would argue that the zombies were made to be a little too scary, given the fact that this was a Scooby-Doo film. And even more so, there's literal shots of them without certain body parts. So it's safe to say, some ways, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island had to be rated R to meet certain circumstances. And even more so when you get to realize the true horrors that unfold. Basically, the zombies are, believe it or not, a lower bit of the real deal. Yeah, the zombies aren't apparently the real thing that they're having to deal with here. Because after some time passes, you know what happens? A surprise twist happens. Simone, her colleagues, as well as the boat driver named Chuck, they apparently all transform into incredibly crazy feline-esque creatures, basically. Yeah, it's an insane amalgamation of different things that take place. And on top of that, the mystery gang ends up in a real pickle because it turns out that there are in fact dolls, voodoo dolls of themselves. Yes, so the mystery gang plus the gardener, and the thing is with that, all that's happened so far, you'd think the mystery gang would catch a bit of a break, but no, it actually boils down to something even more crazy. Well, the three creatures come around, but once they are defeated, when the sundial eventually strikes, they turn into smoke, the zombies go with them, and apparently a ghost of a so-called war hero, whom apparently had appeared earlier in the film and scared the crap out of Shaggy and Scooby, well, it all comes down to the fact that this was all just a ruse. A ruse where these creatures apparently had terrorized Pirate Morgan Moonscar. Yeah, apparently the story of Morgan Moonscar was basically an endearing series of events that eventually kicked off into a transpiration of transformations. You know, they not only allowed for Moonscar to be killed off, but they also brought us a new way to look at the past. The golden age of sail apparently wasn't as glamorous as people would have thought. And it's not just with all the pirate tales we've been taught about over the years. No, there's way more to it, but you know what? This sure was a good film. A good way to kick off a whole new series. And while Jim Sternstrom did not stop with this one film, it's safe to say that with the other three films that I will get to talk about later on this week, I'll have lots to say about the series as it unfolds. So, with the cast in play, knowing that what had happened with Don Misig, knowing his voice of Scooby-Doo was replaced with Mark Inns, and then you have Billy West as Shaggy Rogers. Frank Welker goes in to portray the likes of Fred Jones, and with everybody else, you have different roles coming here and there, every which way. So, even a few special guest stars like Mark Hamill enter the mix. But apart from that, the writing was spectacular, the animation is pretty stunning, the scare factor, given the fact that the zombies and the transformations of Simone and the rest came around to a pretty creepy and impressive level of suspense and horror. And then of course the rather disturbing story about how Simone's manor was actually made out of remnants of the Maelstrom pirate ship that Morgan Moonscar was in command of back in the day. You know, all of these things that basically just come down to an immense level of storyline, which unfortunately the Mystery Gang wasn't able to catch on film, but still, it was an experience for them. And probably for anyone else too that had witnessed it and endured it. With all that in play, I give this film a nice big 8.7 out of 10.1. And I feel like that with the rest of the films, they might get similar ratings, more so, and pretty much. But anyways, I will see you guys tomorrow with Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, which followed up after the success of Zombie Island. So make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.
And I'm thinking I want you, but I don't have you yet. I ain't got no tricks to be playing on you.